Alrighty, I don't know what happened there, but what an absolute cracker of a start. G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad NRL Fantasy Show. Stu has obviously dropped out. There's plenty of rain around in Brisbane, so it could also be Skip in the comments. Apologies for everyone. We're going to get straight into the show as soon as Stu gets back. I'm Dyl. Stu will be coming, and we are the Fantasy Bros. We are excited to once again partner with GameDay Squad to bring you everything you need to know to succeed in GDS Rugby League in 2026. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. Teamless Tuesdays dropped. Obviously, we've got a massive buy round again, the second major buy round. 7 clubs having a spell this week, plus Origin players in camp ready for game 2. A couple of doozies in there as well that we're going to miss out on. Payne Haas obviously returns to the Origin arena, as does Reece Walsh. So if you're banking on either of them this weekend, you need to put a line through that. Obviously, we're going to get into our positional previews. Once Stu gets back, we're going to talk about our players that we are hoping that we're going to bank on getting us up those leaderboards. There's obviously been a bit of a change with those leaderboards over the last couple of weeks, and a couple of unlucky decisions maybe went against you. But look, the best thing about GameDay Squad is that we can press that clear all button. And unlike other fantasy platforms, we've got to think about our buy, hold, sells. We've got to think about salary. We don't necessarily have to do that. So it's going to be an absolute cracker of the show again once Stu actually returns. Look, talking about returns though as well, it was awesome to see live scoring back on the app. Obviously, the boys behind the scenes have been working pretty hard. Those new devs doing everything they can to ensure that we can get live scoring. And it was great watching those updates. So look, my family didn't like it as much. They've probably enjoyed the last 3 or 4 weeks where I've got to actually have a conversation with them. It's been quite nice. But obviously, with live scoring back, it's going to be goodbye family and hello GDS. With just one more thing to come, and that's obviously going to be those leaderboards updating. But again, if you're not part of Discord, make sure you jump across to the Discord app. Go to the GameDay Squad Discord because Cal has been putting in updated leaderboards for each round as they've been happening across the weekends. It's been awesome to see those updates as well, including the addition of the brand new count for how many players that you have used. Welcome back, Stu. Players that you've used and the score that you've got at this stage. So it's great to see those coming in. So if you're not part of Discord, make sure you jump on board and get into Discord. Stu, welcome back, mate. Talk to us what actually happened there.
Bet Skip's in the chat somewhere, is he?
Mate, I've absolutely covered you. Look, we've talked through absolutely everything. The show's done. You can put your feet up and have a rest. No, I was just talking about the change of live updates in terms of the leaderboards coming back, and it's great to see that that's all happening as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's super exciting. Feels like we're getting back to sort of the areas that we want to be in terms of the amount of love we have for the game. So, yeah, very excited. This weekend should be a lot better, a lot smoother as well.
Definitely. All righty, let's jump into our round 14 results as you get yourself sorted there. I'll talk through mine. Look, just the 11th and champion for me. I think we're just saying off here. I think I had 33 across every other competition that I played. Came 33rd in every other competition except for champion. got my ducks in a line there and was able to get the 11th. And it was all down to Ryan Couchman. I talked about him last week being a potential pod on that edge and how he's just banging out 60s for fun at the moment. Both him and his brother, along with Hamish Stewart and Dylan Egan, are all really fantasy relevant considering that the Dragons are struggling significantly. Obviously, they had a bit of a win for the first time in about 4 years, but outside of that, there's still some fantasy relevance there, which is great to see. So Ryan Couchman available across all of those competitions as well. So an under 24, absolute stud, and then getting him into my champion side helped out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Those Dragons that you just mentioned are all very good players in the under 24 competition. I had all of them as plats, I think. Dylan Egan, he was a very good play in that competition. 14th there in the under 24s, 17th in the showdown was a decent result. 20th in Challenger. Some disappointing selections here and there. Disappointed to have taken Jacob Kiraz out of the side. I think I lost 20 or 30 points from a late replacement there. Expecting him to miss for the mail that we got, during the week. Those whispers around sort of X and that sort of thing, not always reliable. But as big Xavier Willison, big X, who was just unreal. We spoke about how good he was in his limited sample size without Paddy Carrigan in about 5 or 6 games, averaging over 65 with some monster scores in there. And he was outstanding on his way to 72 points. And he featured pretty heavily across my sides. And I dare say he's going to be pretty popular this week.
Definitely. As you can see, we're having plenty of success. I know for a fact, Stu, right now you are at the top of the seasonal leaderboard for Sunday Showdown. So currently the first seed in the Sunday Showdown. I'm sitting 11th overall for that season, by the way, and I still haven't got my ticket yet. So I'm starting to sweat a little bit, hopefully, this weekend. You've seen we've got plenty of success across a range of competitions. We'll be coming to you live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Plus, we'll be putting out a few things here and there across all of our socials as well, particularly around the Sunday Showdown competition. So make sure you're subscribing across all of our platforms, not just YouTube, but TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc. as well. Look, Wednesday nights, we're going to talk about the ins and outs. We're going to talk about the all-important start sets and talk about the players that we really love, but also the players that we are pretty keen to fade. I know next week we've got a massive State of Origin preview as well, so we can't wait for that. Look, we'll touch on the key under 24 players that we might get into our sides. We'll talk about the prime time, obviously another big competition. Then, of course, our FantasyBros Sunday Showdown. And as always, at the end of the show, plenty of chances to win in some cards through our BroDown ShowDown segment. So as I said, make sure you're subscribed across all of our socials. Make sure you check them out. That's at FantasyBros AU across all of them to get everything that you need.
Absolutely. It's definitely not too late to get started with GameDay Squad either. Simply head over to the website, download the app, and use the FantasyBros promo code FBRL26. That'll get you 3 9-player common packs to get your challenger, to get your contender and classic sides rolling. You'll get a whole heap of bronze cards too to roll out your starter squads. Remember, it's free to play, free to win, and that promo code FBRL26 will get you plenty of cards to get started, get your mates involved. You might have fell off in some of the other fantasy platforms. It's a bit of a struggle with trades and the buy rounds and Origin and injuries at the moment. Come clear team on a Monday morning with Dyl and I, and reset your team entirely for the brand new week on GameDay Squad. Dyl, let's get cracking, mate. Let's get in the round 15 preview. Obviously highlighted by a number of casualties. Not only have we got 7 teams in the Cowboys, the Dogs, the Panthers, the Dragons, the Sea Eagles, the Storm, and the Knights on the bye, we've also got all Origin players, about 40 Origin players, obviously not in every team playing this round, but 40 players selected across the two sides, so they're not eligible. So some of the players that we can't pick in our teams this round for the Rugby League's competition because they're on Origin duty: Payne Haas, Hudson Young, James Tedesco, Fini Fuiaki, Reece Walsh, and Hammer Tabuai Fido. So some big names there that would probably be pretty well played across a lot of teams. We've got to dig deep for round 15, don't we, mate? And let's get straight into the hooker position because we are digging deep. There is no Harry Grant. There is no Blake Brayley on that list. Brayley out through injury. Harry Grant on Origin duties. So we've got a different looking strongly consider page, although Ollie Pascoe is still getting things done, and he highlights our hooker position this round. Jeremy Marshall-King and Connor Watson look like pretty good plays as well. We'll talk through them in a moment. Brandon Smith, can he get some minutes and some points and back into fantasy relevance alongside Wade Egan as some potential pods? We're not too keen on Corey Pakes or Tommy Starling with some pretty difficult positional matchups and a couple of good blokes breathing down their neck on the bench. Still, let's start with that man. Ollie Pascoe, is he the default plug and play this round with no Grant, with no Brayley?
If you're lucky enough to own his card, he's definitely a massive plug and play. Obviously, a bit of whispers around on Discord today of people trying to chase an Ollie Pascoe card. I think there was a few offers of State of Origin cards, for example, to try and get some of those gold or silvers, Ollie Pascoe's. But yeah, look, he's definitely the number one hooker option this week. He's just absolutely killing it at the moment. He's averaging 62 GDS points when starting in that dummy half role, which has been the last 4 games. So he started in the last month. That 62 is off the back of an average of 50 tackles, 60 running meters on the ground, plus almost 2 tackle breaks a game. But he also offers something in attack. We've seen a couple of times he's had a crack at the line. He's got a little offload. He's had that nice try assist here in a few games. So I think there's some real potential for him to be one of those elite options moving forward, not just this player that we sort of look at every now and then and maybe the point of difference. I think he's in the realm of the Harry Grants, the Damien Cooks, etc. of the world when he's available. So I think it's a really good opportunity for him to showcase again when those guys are out. Hey, pick me. I'm one of the best hookers at the moment in the competition. He's also up against the Tigers, and the Tigers have been pretty good at restricting starting hookers, but we just saw Freddie Lussick. I think he had his best score he's had all season against them, and he dove over for a try as well. So there's some vulnerability there around the Tigers, probably across the park, really, and will probably heavily favour the Titans up against the Tigers. Pasco, the hard thing now is for us, and we talked about it today, where do we play our Pasco cards? We've got this FantasyBros Sunday Showdown where we're going to load up on Oliver Pasco, obviously, but we also want to get him in across as many competitions as possible. Neither of us have the cards at the moment. We really need to dig deep and find some more Ollie Pasco cards. So if we don't have those cards, where else might we go?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because I'm not sure. I do have the Ollie Pasco Diamond, and that'll be getting a run in either my Challenger or Champion side, depending on which one I want to prioritise this week. Maybe Challenger, since I'm a little bit higher up on the leaderboard there, which means I'd have to run without. Have to go naked, no Ollie Pasco in my Champion side, which is a bit scary, mate. There's two pretty decent names there on the screen in Jeremy Marshall-King and Connor Watson. I don't mind the Connor Watson play. We haven't seen his best at all this season. In fact, he's been well below his best, but there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, some limited minutes, doesn't really have a role, a specific role for the team. He's sort of been in a bit of Mr. Fix-It, playing a bit of hooker, interchange, middle forward as well. But played just the one game in starting hooker for the Roosters last week with Reece Robson not backing up there from Origin. Got 60 minutes there against the Raiders, scored 48 points, but it was all in base. Got through 40 tackles and 80 run meters, and just the one tackle break. But we've seen Connor Watson in the past be really, really good, knowing that he's getting some big minutes at hooker, and he's definitely done that in the past. Looking back into last season, he had a heap of games at starting hooker and played above 70 on just about every single occasion. Just a 60 last week. Maybe it was just him getting some minutes through the legs, expecting some bigger minutes this week. Hopefully we can see a 70-plus minute performance from Connor Watson, because I am pretty keen. We're going to get plenty of base from him, but he's pretty handy when he runs the footy as well. He's a tackle breaker. He's as fit as they get. So Connor Watson is high on my priority list. I just hope that he can see definitely more than 60. I really need 70-plus. Is he a guy you like, or is JMK maybe slightly ahead?
I think Connor Watson is probably slightly ahead because of those reasons that you've just listed off in terms of what we saw last year. But for me, both players are in a pretty tough spot. Both defenses have been pretty good against hookers this season. Where, in fact, both teams are in the top 3 hardest matchups for hookers this weekend, irrespective of all the other teams playing. They're still the top 3 hardest if we had every team playing this weekend. Both players obviously have the potential to play 80. We've seen that in the past. But then there's guys on the bench that are looming that could eat into their minutes. So it's quite a tough one. I think purely based on what you said and what we saw last season from Connor Watson in terms of his fantasy relevance, probably just a little bit higher up. It's obviously also, like you said, he's prepped for this moment a little bit over the last couple of weeks, starting at hooker and Reece Robson dropping back to the bench. So obviously there's been a bit of running in his legs, so he knows sort of the workload that he's going off, whereas JMK we've seen just come off the bench here and there over the last couple of weeks as he's returned from injury. So I think for me, Connor Watson probably just goes ahead slightly, but two really good options either way, especially if you don't have that Oliver Pasco card. For me, the rest of the point of difference is, I think, are probably just a slightly too hard to get to. Wade Egan has had one probably good game this season. He's also got Sam Healey on the bench, who's impressing when he does come on, and especially his service out of dummy half. And I think that's what the Warriors really need at the moment, is that service out of dummy half. Wade Egan, he obviously bases all of his attack through the middle and trying to find some space in his running meters. So I think potentially that might be cut short. But you touched on it. The Brandon Smith shout's quite a tough one. He was an absolute stud, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, and we just haven't quite seen it since. It's sort of taken a long time, but is it going to be this weekend where he takes off?
Yeah, look, I don't know, but it is a tough week for the hooker position. So if you don't have that Ollie Pasco card, if you're not going to trust the minutes for Connor Watson or JMK, yeah, where else are you going to go? Good luck if you can find someone in the hooker position that goes off. Connor Watson, just quickly, does have Benai Uelu on the bench. There's every chance that Watson does also move into a running 13 role, which would just be absolute fantasy gold. So because that's a possibility, I think he does edge out JMK there. But pretty simple. If you've got an Ollie Pasco card, I recommend either getting him into your side, or if you're not, hit me up on the Discord or on Instagram and I will trade you not a State of Origin card for him, but some decent cards as well. We've got Sif Kanga in the chat, who's pretty keen on Ollie Pasco as well. Sif, how many Pasco cards have you got, mate? It's all good saying you want to play him, but do you actually have enough cards? Let us know who you have, buddy. And if you've got any extras, I'd love to hear. Dyl, let's move into the middle forward position. Some familiar names there. We haven't missed out too many. Payne Haas had a pretty nice couple of games recently, called up for Origin duty for New South Wales now. But we still have Terrell May without Alex Twal. He's just going to be incredible. Jackson Ford is missing some troops as well in terms of the Warriors forward pack there. No Mitchie Barnett, no Kurt Capewell. Leka Halasima is out as well. Xavier Willison, no Paddy Carrigan, no Payne Haas. So those are our three strongly considers. And I think they're just about slam dunks in that middle forward position. Not only their role, not only the form that they've been in, but the troops around them that have fallen. And there's probably more responsibility and more work on their shoulders. We'll talk about them shortly. A couple of points of difference if you want to get a little bit funky. And Aaron Clark and Joe Tarpanay, who just seems to excel in this period. He had a big game a game or two ago. It's probably going to pop off again, and it's every chance it happens as early as this week. So he's a massive shout as a pod play for your bench. Jackie Williams has been rolling along pretty nicely. He's got a pretty tough matchup there in the fade candidates. And if you like Cooper By's proposition there at the starting lock, probably temper expectations there and maybe look elsewhere. Dyl, let's talk the strongly considers. Terrell May, Jackson Ford, Xavier Willison. Are we missing anyone from that list? Do we think those three are going to be pretty popular?
I think those three are probably the smash plays, and I wouldn't be surprised to see their ownership quite high once I jump over to Stats Lab and have a look. But yeah, I think the big one for me is obviously Jackson Ford. Once again, missing that spot in the Origin side, it just is beneficial for us, isn't it? Fingers crossed he sees 80 minutes back on the park as well. That you touched on that bench. There's no Barnett, Capewell, Leka. The bench is quite thin as it is as well. Lukey Metcalf is named at the moment there too. So I feel like with that, there potentially could be every chance he plays 80. Ford's been unreal. He's averaging 64 when starting at prop. So he had that one game off the bench as well. But if he plays 80, Ford's averaging 200 running meters, 48 tackles and more than 2 tackle breaks a game. And he's pushing his average closer to 70 GDS points when he goes the distance. So fingers crossed we do see an 80-minute performance from him. And I think if the Warriors are going to win, it's going to be off the back of him for sure, because that Shark side, although they're down on troops and the bookies don't think they're going to give the Warriors a run for their money, I beg to differ, and I think it's going to be a really close game. In that, the one though, obviously, I'll leave Willison to you because he is your man. You spoke about him last week around the stats for Willison without Carrigan, and he obviously gets that role again. So I'll let you talk about that in a moment. But then it's Terrell May in this absolute set and forget role that we know and love from Terrell May. Even in that thumping last week, 68 points that they let in and scored 0. He still finished with 60 GDS points or 58 GDS points, and that was without a tackle break or any kind of attacking stat, and he only had one offload. So we know that Terrell May offers so much more on top of that. So if we're getting almost 60 points in base and power from May in a game where they lose 68-0, I think there's every chance we see a 60-plus score from him this week against the Titans on a Sunday. Just get as many Terrell May cards as you can across all of your comps, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all three of those blokes on the screen are probably all but guaranteed of at least a 60. Just some hesitation with Jacko Ford looking through some of his numbers. 9 missed tackles last round, and for the weekend, the week before, maybe he's getting a little bit. Sorry, not last round, obviously the round before the bye. Maybe he's getting a little bit fatigued after how good he was to start the season. 3 40s in a row. Maybe the bye is exactly what he needed. It's his teammate, Aaron Clark, that I've got over there on the pods list that is actually overshot 3 rounds. Not by too much, but by about 10 or 12 points. And Aaron Clark, 2 missed tackles in the last 3 games. Jacko Ford, 13 in the last 3 games. So that's a big difference when you weigh up the -3 for those missed tackles. But in saying that, Jacko Ford, we know he's going to get the 80 minutes. We know that they're down on troops. I think he's going to get back to that big 60 or 70 point score. But I really like Aaron Clark, given what he's done for the past about 6 or 7 weeks, getting through plenty of tackles, plenty of run meters, and he's found the propensity to score a try or get a cheeky try assist close to the line there. I think if the Warriors do get on a roll and the Sharkies forward pack there without Adam Fennell-Blake and Blake Brayley find a bit difficult containing those big boys, I think that's when someone like Aaron Clark and Jackson Ford, similar body shapes, probably do some damage from an attacking perspective. Mate, another bloke doing some damage from an attacking perspective, or certainly can, is that man Xavier Willison. 63 minutes at lock without Paddy Carrigan, 72 points, all in base, 41 tackles, 222 run meters, 3 tackle breaks for a 6'8" giant, 72 points, 1.14 ppm. Just incredible, just outstanding. And look, there's every chance that 63 turns into 73, or dare I say it, 80. No Payne Haas alongside Paddy Carrigan. Back-to-back 70s. If that's not enough to convince you, the fact that Haas and Carrigan are out, I think you got to move heaven and earth to find an Xavier Willison card if you don't have him. In fact, he's probably on par with Terrell May as a clear 1-2 for the middle forward position there. Have you got plenty of Xavier Willison cards? And if someone didn't, where would they be looking for another point of difference in the middles?
Yeah, I've got plenty of X, and interesting that you said, dare you say, pushing into the 80s, because if you just go back to round 8, he played without Haas and Carrigan in that game, and he scored 80 GDS points in 75 minutes. 33 tackles, 170 running meters, 4 tackle breaks, and a try. So, plenty of opportunity for Big X. And if you don't have one, or you've only got a limited amount and you want to look somewhere else, I've got a pod first, and then I've got an absolutely insane pod that I'll get to in a moment. I already teased it on Discord today. It's very spicy, so proceed with caution. But the first one you touched on is Joe Tarpany, and I think it's one of those ones where it's good luck picking which middle forward from the Raiders will actually score well this weekend. Joe Tarpany, big horse, is playing some good footy as well. In the last month, Horsburgh's averaged 55 GDS points, while Tarps has averaged 58. And it's almost like they're just trying to better each other at the moment. Tarps has outscored Horse on 3 out of those last 4 games, but Big Horse has still got almost a similar average. So it's very close. The lows between both of them are only 40 or in the 40s, and the highs are over 68. So we've got this really nice sort of range that we can look at of going about 45 to 70 GDS points between the two of them. But it is just a flip of the coin who's going to have that bigger game. Probably Joe Tarpany, as you said, he seems to stand up in these sort of scenarios when the pack's down a little bit. But the other one that I'm really liking is actually Ganner's put in the comment here, any love for Nath White. Remember him coming big this time last year. And yet going back to last year, round 15, he scored 44 GDS points, and then he took off from there, 67, 77, 57, 51, all within around that 60 minutes on the park or so. So it could be definitely an opportunity for him to take the reins a little bit. Anytime that you have that middle forward getting 60 plus minutes, there's going to be an opportunity for them to score well. It's just at the moment, I'm a little bit hesitant. He's had some good games and he's had some really poor games. So I'm just not sure where I want to go with Nath White when we've got those 3 boys on screen and the strongly considered, plus the really good option of Aaron Clark as well that you touched on. I really like him as a point of difference. He's also playing some really good footy, and the Sharks are actually allowing 50 GDS points to starting locks this season. And because of that, I think Clark's going to be another really good option. To answer your question, play as many Xavier Willison cards as you can, but maybe Joe Tarpany and Aaron Clark in there as well.
Yeah, Nath White, Gunners, definitely for the primetime Stats Lab competition, I think there. The Roosters are losing a couple of middle forwards there, obviously in Victor Radley, Lindsay Collins as well. So maybe that is a bump in minutes. Just hasn't been consistent enough with both minutes and what he's actually doing with time on park. He's had a couple of blow-up games, but they've all coincided with big 8 and 10 tackle break games. He's had 0 tackle breaks, 1, 2, all around those big 8 and 10 games. So what's going on? What's he doing that day to just want to break tackles for fun? If we can get a tackle breaking Nath White, we're going to be laughing. But yeah, you're right, mate. At some point, he probably is going to pop off, like we know that Joe Tarpany does. And if it's going to happen now, and you want to get a jump on the rest of the comp, and you think it's going to happen this week, mate, you play him, because if he does pop off and get big 60, 65 minutes, I think we're all going to flock to someone like him next week. Right, Dyl, you teased it. This one's come out of absolutely nowhere. Who is this completely random middle forward pod that you may roll out in one side this round. In fact, you're going to have to roll him out. I'm going to make you roll him out.
I think I'll have to. And look, everyone is going to question it, but it is Jed Stewart. and he is a winger in NRL, but you can play him as a middle forward in GameDay Squad. And he's sort of the opposite of the out of position player that we like. I loved Harry Hayes last year playing on the wing for GameDay Squad, but through the middle for the Bulldogs. And this is the complete opposite. But Jed Stewart this weekend potentially has a chance to have a blow-up game. As I said, listed as middle forward. On the wing for the Raiders. Last week, Jacob Carraz lines up on the left and scored 72 GDS points against the Eels. I'm not saying for a second that Jed Stewart is equal to Jacob Carraz. Okay, I promise that's not what I'm saying. I don't believe it. However, go back and have a look at the left wingers the last few weeks against the Eels. They've scored 59, 50, 54, 67, and 65. All of those scores came with a try as well. Jacob Carraz, in fact, was the only left winger in the last 6 weeks to not score a try against the Eels. So there is a chance that Jed Stewart crosses for 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 tries. And if you want to get super spicy in a round where there's some difficult options and you've got to make some tough decisions and dig deep and maybe you don't have all the cards, not to mention we had a look in our cards, and I've only got the one silver Jed Stewart, and I think you said you have 0 of his cards. So
none.
It's an absolute triple whammy in terms of the pod opportunity that you might get with Jed Stewart. We'll obviously put a bookmark in this, and we'll come back to this in a week's time, and everyone can laugh at my face. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It seems too good to be true.
All right, let's say now, lock it in. Is Jed Stewart going to feature in one of your sides? Yes or no?
Yes, he'll feature in my classic side. Yeah.
Beautiful. Righto, let's get into the edge forward position. Plenty of good options this round. Some unfamiliar faces, some blokes we haven't really gotten to at all throughout the season. I think the edge forward position is fairly open this round. There are a couple of blokes that stand out in Kai Pearce-Paul, Ewan Aitken, and Zach Hosking. Sawong and Burns, Billy Burns there for the Sharkies as decent points of difference, who can probably pop off, who haven't really been too good in recent weeks, apart from, Billy Burns has definitely been playing a little bit better. No Nickera there, but the Sharkies down on a couple of troops there should get through plenty of work. Against your boys in the Warriors, Egan Butcher is playing in the centre position.
Big fade.
Yeah. Sound the alarm for Herbie Farnworth. I dare say he's going to probably say to the coach, look, I'm not actually feeling that well today. Is it all right if someone else can play centre, because I don't want to be marking up on Herbie Farnworth. Dave Fafita, 80 minutes in the back row last week. A pretty poor, pretty overwhelming fan score there. We might like a couple of other bunnies to roll out this round in the edge forward.
Yeah, and I think, if you're looking at the two edges for the Rabbitohs this week, I think I'm leaning towards Aitken over Fafita. I'm a big Fafita fan, and he's just not returning what we need at the moment. Not to mention then, if we look at the matchup stats with the Broncos, obviously a few players in and out of the side, we understand that. But the last 5 games, the Bronx have allowed 45 points to right edges, whereas down the left, they've actually restricted to less than or just 33 points. So quite a stark difference there. Aitken on the edge is averaging 56 GDS points this season, and it's all based on that really strong base and power floor that he's got. But he's got plenty of upside in terms of attack as well. So I really like Ewan Aitken as an option if you're sort of looking at the Rabbitohs options. There is another Rabbitohs option that I'll let you talk about in a moment. But the other player that I'm really keen on, and I'm just not sure what to do with at the moment, is Zach Hosking. More than likely, I will play him, but it's just going to be that question mark over which side of the field is he going to play. He gets the nod to start on the edge. Number of key players are out. Obviously, Hutto Young out, usually plays the left side. Simi Sasangi usually plays the right. He's injured. Mariota comes into the side as well. We saw him when he came in and played that one game on the edge. He was playing on the right side. So I would probably expect Mariota to be on that side, Hosking switching to the left. And if he does, that's where I think there could be some vulnerability. 2 weeks ago, Dylan Lucas just absolutely ripped the Eels to shreds, scoring 97 points down that left side. As a result, the Eels are allowing 52 GDS points to the attacking left edges over the last month. And I think Zach Hosking is one of those players that has plenty of attacking upside. We just have to go back to a couple of years where in that first game of the season, he went over for a double and we all celebrated because we'd all played him in our sides. But I think this week, I think there's every opportunity, if he plays down that left edge, to have a big game. It's just going to be the question mark over, does he get the call, or is it Arda Mariota that's going to play that side?
Yeah, definitely a bit of upside there, but I still think he'll get through plenty of base regardless. May not necessarily have the attacking upside. Just the one try this season, obviously played a bit off the bench, but in the last month, 4 games on the edge, all getting 80 minutes. Just the one try in there, but always over 55 GDS points with a couple of 60s and a 66 amongst there, getting through 40 plus tackles a game, over 100 run meters. So I think we're going to get plenty of base from Zachy Hosking. And look, if the Raiders can put on some points and he can crash over, which he certainly can, that 55, that 60 can very quickly turn into a high 60s or a 70-point game. So I think he's someone that provides a bit of floor, a bit of safety in that edge forward position. Probably not the attacking upside like a guy like Kai Pearce-Paul, who we're super keen on, and the matchup there as well with the Titans. We think KPP is going to be a cornerstone in their sort of their bounce back from the big 68-point loss. He's going to do a little bit more in attack, you would have to imagine. So I like pairing them up together, and New and Aiken. I think that makes like a pretty nice threesome there. You did sort of hint towards another Rabbitohs edge player. That's Keon Koloamatangi. We play him in the edge forward position. Is that right? Is he still an edge forward? Just double checking that.
Yeah.
Still an edge forward position on GameDay Squad. But look, he had a number of games last season where he did play 80 minutes through the middle, particularly through the Origin period. And he just got through so much work. And we haven't seen the best from him, dealing with a bit of a foot complaint. Is this the week where we see a big uptick game from Keon Koloamatangi? It might be, and if you can get ahead of the crowd and get on him now, I think you could be rewarded. So I'm pretty tempted. There's also obviously a couple of all-star Keon Koloamatangi cards floating around, and if you're an owner of one of those, it might be easier to get him into a side or two. But it's just really important noting the bench that the Bunnies are rolling out this round. They've got Garlic, Humphreys, Sullivan, so all small players there. Garlic, obviously, a bit of hooker there, probably share some time with Brandon Smith. Humphreys and Sullivan, the halves. No idea who John Riddell is. Apologies, John. I think he's a prop. We've got Dwayne Jennings, Liam LeBlanc. There is no big minute forwards on that bench whatsoever. And even if Brandon Smith or Garlic, play a 13 role, they're not big minute players either. And I think this is all Keon Koloamatangi, and there's every chance we see 80 minutes from him. It might not be pretty. It might be all in base, but some disappointing 40s that he's been scoring lately could very easily be mid to high 50s. And when he played in that prop forward position for 80 minutes last season, he went on a bit of a run where he scored back-to-back tries. So he's definitely capable. Can you get someone like Keon this week, or is that a bit too much of a stretch for you?
Yeah, no, I think I can, and I like everything that you're saying. You probably have to go back a little bit, like you said, sort of round 10 of last season, where he jumped into that middle forward, that prop role, and started to get some big minutes behind him. And as a result, he was sort of in and around those 50s, 60s, and then jumped into the 70s, 80s, 90s once he got a try and he crossed the line. We did see him last round, 44 GDS points. In the prop role, he did score a try as well there. That's a little bit concerning to me. He did only play 57 minutes. He has played 80 minutes earlier in the season against your boys, the Raiders, in round 6, and he returned to 43, all in base, and a little bit of, one missed tackle, 2 errors there, no tackle breaks with that one. So, yeah, it's sort of, again, one of those up and down things where he's had this past of having these really good games, these really big blow-up games, in the same role that he's currently in, but it's just not happening. So maybe it was that foot complaint. Maybe he's over that. And maybe now that they're sort of starting to shape up as the returning Rabbitohs, I think the only player left really is Latrell Mitchell to come back into the side, and they're pretty much full strength once the Origin boys return as well. So I feel like maybe this is the time that, Koloamatangi starts that run and we start seeing something a little bit more from him. It's just the concern of if we just rely on the base, then he's not really offering too much above 40. So we can at least lock in the 40 points. But if you're playing an all-star with that 40 points, for example, he's probably not going to be a player that drops out of the side from your best 17. So that's going to be sort of that annoying sort of 50 to 60 range that you don't quite want. You just want a little bit more than that, or a little bit less from your Klongmatungis where you're playing that rarity. So I think I'll get to him in a couple of sides, but in my main side, I might not get there. Just probably depends on what happens over that in terms of that bench as well.
Sif Kang are pretty keen on Wong and Hosking in the edge forward position. Mate, talk to me about Wong or Billy Burns of those two. If you had to pick a bit of a pod, where are you going?
Yeah, I sort of first had Wong and Firma as the two that I was tossing up, and then Billy Burns came into this picture as well, and I'm now really keen on Billy Burns over the other two. Wong, he's had a great few weeks. Between round 6 and 10, he's averaging 62, but over the last 3 rounds, he's really sort of dropped back to earth, and he's only averaging 42 GDS points, and we've lost some of that attack that we've seen, and I think with Tedesco out of the side, that's going to be limited as well. Not to mention the likelihood that DCE might be restricted as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the half. So potentially Wong, I might put a line through him. Fillmore is just, it's all base and power. There's no attacking from him at all. So I'm just putting a line through him as well because I want some upside. And the upside comes in Billy Burns. He's got a really good outlook as a point of difference. Although he's only averaging 35 GDS points when starting on the edge, it's all about the matchup data against the Warriors, plus going back to round 13 and that performance without Nicker in the side. For a taste of just what Billy Burns can actually offer coaches. And it was an unreal game, 2 tries, but just the way he scored a couple of those tries as well was absolutely insane. Chasing that ball down, diving in the corner like a winger to score a try was great to see from our edge forward players. And he was going through plenty of base and power. Add that attacking stat in there. I think it's going to be a good day for Billy Burns. Obviously, without Nico Hines in the side, though, so that's something that we might have to consider when you are thinking about a potential point of difference. But for me, in terms of those 3, Billy Burns, Wong, and then Firmore below that.
Averaging 3 kick meters per game this season as well, Billy Burns, after 5 kick meters in round 13 in that big 62-point game, and then 27 kick meters in the weekend just gone. So he's getting more used to putting ball boot to ball, and we could see that number rise. All right, mate, let's get into the half-back position, the halves position, the guys that do get all of the kicking meters. Some familiar faces here as well. Isaiah Katoa, Jaden Campbell, probably the 2 strong names here in the halves strongly consider list. And Braden Trindle, do we go back to him once again? He got out of jail, I think, last round. Pretty poor score on halftime, but certainly some junk points. And he's been pretty decent without Nico Hines in the side. A tough matchup here across the ditch against the Warriors. Any faith here in the Sharkies? Let's wait and see. He's a strongly consider, just given the role and given the what he's got to do without Nico Hines there, despite maybe not getting too many goal kicks if the Wars do get on top of the Sharkies, who are a little bit depleted, particularly through the forward pack. Ethan Sanders, you got a pretty nice some data there about him and his matchup. Tamari Martin, the opposite side of that Braden Trindle game. He could be the guy that feasts if the things do go the Warriors' way. So I think for me, it might be a toss-up between Trindle or Tamari Martin. I'm sick of Adam Reynolds. I gave him a chance a couple of weeks back. The Bronx, I think that might have actually been the Dragons game where we just thought, oh, okay, well, the Broncos are going to win this game. That means he'll at least kick plenty of goals. He might get a couple of try assists. But no, let's fade Adam Reynolds and Daly Cherry Evans as well. We'll touch on him briefly. Mate, let's start. This strongly considers Isaiah Katoa, Jaden Campbell, I presume, pretty high up on your order this round?
Yeah, definitely. Jaden Campbell. Look, he's not Nathan Cleary, but I think he's probably as close to Nathan Cleary that we have in any halves. And Cleary obviously just tore up the Tigers. What did he score? 98 GDS points or something along those lines. So I think JC's in this perfect spot to do something similar. We've talked about Jaden Campbell quite a bit this season around his ability to be quite matchup proof and sort of just make something happen from nothing. A few intercept tries and his score gets away from everyone as well. And you're spewing that you didn't play him that week. So I think he's going to be really popular. The hard part is also considering that he's playing the Sunday Showdown as well. And so you're going to have to think about your rarities there. I know, like we've talked about in the past, a couple of all-star cards getting around potentially for the Showdown. The Tigers allowing 55 GDS points to right halves, but that average is absolutely soared to 70 GDS points over the past month. And that's, look, you've got to follow the talent in terms of what JC offers, but also that matchup. So I think Jaden Campbell's a pretty slam dunk play this week when we've got some limited options outside of him. Is that where you're thinking as well, exactly where your head's at?
Yeah, absolutely. Without some of those big names, I think he highlights the list of halves there. Definitely can rack up fantasy points as quick as anyone else in the competition. And look, Sunday afternoon in Sydney, the weather looks decent. There's should be no rain. 4:00 afternoon game. There could be 68 points in this game. I don't know if the Titans will score all 68 of them, but we could get a 38-30 type game. And that just means Jaden Campbell is likely to have his fingerprints all over that fixture. I don't think we need to think too long and hard there about Jaden Campbell. Izzy Katoa just missed out on Origin selection. Do you think he might put a bit of that pain into this game and show selectors what they're missing out on?
Yeah, I think so. And look, yeah, it's unfortunate that he missed out, but look, with all the unfortunate missing out of Origin, it just means that GDS coaches have another great option this weekend for their side. So with someone's misfortune, somebody else's gold. Obviously, Katoa up against the Rabbitohs this Thursday. Katoa obviously is going to have to spend a lot of time attacking in that game. We know the connection that he and Nikorima have, and they're unreal, but he's going to spend all of his time attacking that defensive left edge of the Rabbitohs, where Fafita's missed 18 tackles so far this season. Latrell 2.0 has missed 10, and then Walker down that left side has missed 32 tackles. So there's a really good chance that Katoa is going to rack up some of those attacking stats that we really like to see in terms of try assists, line breaks, and line break assists. Similar to what we saw a few weeks ago. They played each other 4 weeks ago, and Katoa scored 48 GDS points, and that was without all of those involved. He had no try assist, no line break or line break assist. So if he can score 48 points doing very little in attack, I'd love to see what he can do with a team that hasn't quite, or a left side defense that hasn't quite gelled together yet and don't have a huge amount of chemistry and are missing tackles at will. So yeah, I'm really keen to get Izzy Katoa into the side. Just can we hurry up and fast forward time to when he's kicking goals as well, and Jermaine Asako's out of the side, because he would just be an absolute slam dunk if he was kicking goals.
Izzy Katoa cards are very cheap on the market right now for the future that he is destined to have when he does get that kicking tee from Jermaine Asako. Mate, the third halves spot for me probably comes down to Braden Trindle or Timaro Martin in that fixture where they go head-to-head over in New Zealand. Braden Trindle's been outstanding in Nico Hines' absence with 81 against the Sea Eagles and 62 against the Dragons. Got a try in both of those games, kicked 8 goals between those two games. 3 try assists. It's the kick meters, well over 550 in those recent 3 matches. And he was sort of hitting 3s and 4s with Nico Hines in the team. So obviously a lot more responsibility. All the numbers are through the roof. Tamari Martin, on the other hand, his 2 games in the halves in round 12, 13, and spent most of, let's say, played a full game in the half, 74 there after Tanner Boyd went down against the Bronx. But scores of 58, 76, and 60. The 60 came against the Penrith Panthers. 2 try assists, a line break, couple of tackle breaks, 2 offloads. If you thought he was a bit of a flat track bully, scoring 58 and 76 against the Dragons, well, you put that to bed with the 60 there against the Penrith Panthers. If it came down to Braden Trindle versus Tamaro Martin for your third spot, where are you going and why?
So as of 20 minutes ago, I was going Tricky Trindle with some precaution behind it, because the Warriors have restricted all halves this season to only 41 GDS points. And if we specifically look at left halves, the Warriors are only limiting to 29 GDS points. So there was some precaution there. But just diving deeper into Tamaro Martin, you rattling off those stats, I'm starting to lean that way. And I know I like to be on the fence when it comes to the Warriors and how well they're playing, and sort of try and really hedge my bets with, well, if the Warriors have a poor game, I know I get on the players that sort of make sure that they are putting it to the sword against the Warriors, then I'm going to have a good weekend. But if I load up on Warriors players and not only do they lose, but my players don't go well, it's a rubbish weekend for me. But it's hard to ignore Tamaro Martin up against the Sharks. They're allowing 51 GDS points to halfbacks this season. And as you said, for all intents and purposes, that game that he played from the bench might as well be starting, and he's averaging over 60 GDS points in the 3 games that he's played. It's just that he's just following along in the footsteps of what Tanner Boyd was doing earlier in the season, and we're jumping on it. Tamari Martin's doing exactly the same thing. So I think, yeah, it's hard to fade that when I go and look at those stats, and especially the matchup stats between what the Warriors allow versus what the Sharks allow. So I think you may have just convinced me to go the way of Tamari Martin and get TMM into my side for sure.
Let's do it. Sif Kanga is as well. Jaden Campbell, Tamari Martin. Make sure you pick a third half there as well. Sif Kanga, let us know who that's going to be. And mate, just quickly, Ethan Sanders, decent game last round. He's got a pretty nice matchup. Yeah. Probably heavily played in the under-24 competition. Is that someone that we could put a bit of salary on and expected to score pretty well?
Yeah, I think it's the same argument around the Zach Hosking and whether he's going to line up on the left. Strange, and as obviously in Origin duties, usually lines up on the right. Sanders on the left. Dane Laurie comes into the side, and what's he playing about his 10th position for the Raiders? Has he played? Is there any position?
Played everywhere but prop.
And he's going to line up in the halves as well. I don't know what they're going to do. Is Sanders going to go to the right and Laurie play the left? Or are they going to keep it pretty similar and have Sanders surely play down that left side? If so, the stats maybe might not favour Sanders as much. The right side halves against the Eels are scoring 64 GDS points, while the left side halves are averaging 46. So there might be an opportunity to maybe exploit Dane Laurie. I don't know if I can get there myself, but I think Sanders is going to have a lot of work to get through without Strange there. Laurie obviously offers some upside for the Raiders side, not necessarily fantasy relevant, but he offers some upside in terms of his running game, which we saw last week. He had a nice little line break through the middle, ducking under a player. So there's some opportunity there for him to be running the ball. So maybe we see more from Sanders, maybe even going across the park and playing both sides of the field and getting his hands on the ball quite a lot. So there's some opportunity there. I think it's just going to be that tough one if we see some of that vulnerability against the Eels and whether he's going to exploit that or not. Also, the kicking meters is going to be really interesting from Sanders. So could we suggest a game where Sanders just kicks for 600, 700 and Dane Laurie doesn't kick the ball at all?
Yeah, every chance. I'm still waiting for someone to kick 1,000 meters, and with Dane Laurie playing in the halves there, there's Sanders is pushing 7 or 8. Mate, let's get into the centre position. Herbie Farnworth needs no introduction. He's going to look up and see his opposition centre against the Roosters there and just smile and grin to himself, because it's at this stage looking like it's going to be Egan Butcher. A decent footballer when he gets the feet going through the middle, but he's going to find it very difficult up against Herbie Farnworth for 80 minutes. He is an absolute must play this round. I mean, he's a must play every round, but surely we can't get it wrong this week, can we? Can he break a 100-point score, do you think, there, if the matchup against Egan Butcher remains?
Not only can he break 100 points, but can he get to 100 tackle breaks this game? He's currently on 79. 21 tackle breaks get him to 100. So 79 tackle breaks in 11 games. That's the most of any player in any position. That's including blokes that have played 3 more games than him. So the next best on 76 or 77, I can't remember exactly, was Suafai Longo, who's played all 14 games so far this season. So crazy that Farnworth has so many tackle breaks in such a short space of time. And yeah, there's every opportunity he could push that to that closer ton in tackle breaks. And we've said it every week. He's matchup proof. He's averaging almost 70 GDS points. And I think here he's going to break that ton. And I think Egan Butcher is going to regret ever putting his hand up saying he'll play down that side of the field. The second centre is going to be the tough one. At the moment, I've penciled in KL Ero. Obviously a tough matchup for against the Warriors. The Warriors have been pretty good to left centres this season, but I think Edo might be the one to crack it, although we did see Casey McLean last 2 rounds ago in that round 13, scored a double against them and really opened up that Warriors defence down that right side. That right side defence should be the same as what it was against the Panthers, so I think there's every opportunity. Edo, who's no stranger to a try or two himself, he's got 9 tries this season, the most of any centre, so I think there's plenty of opportunity for him to cross the line. The downside is we have seen them score a try this season in KL Ero and only finish with 23 GDS points. So hopefully he returns that base and power that we loved over the previous season and then also adds a couple of tries to that as well.
Yeah, For me, I'm going Taylor May. I got him in strongly considers as well. And I think, it'll be a bit of maybe flip the coin for some coaches between May and Iro there. I think the Sharkies might find it pretty tough against the Warriors over there. Actually, the centre and the winger position, even the fullbacks, I guess, pretty poor, pretty ordinary to pick from this week. So I think you just want to get the guy that's going to get through some base with every chance of scoring. And I think that man is going to be Taylor May, returning from injury. And Benji's a bit disappointed about how poor they were, and he wants to inject some more attacking opportunity closer to the line, at least to get off that donut and score some points. Taylor May has done that. He scored five tries in his 6 matches so far this season. And he's also been going on a pretty nice trend pre-injury. Let's rule out round 2, where he came back from injury and injured his shoulder. He had a pretty nice stretch between 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. He went 37, then up to 57, down to 33, then up to 113 against the Storm. Thank you very much. Back down to 20 against the Sea Eagles. What does that tell you? He's on that up, down trend, and he's ready for an up game. I think the matchup suits. Sunday afternoon there against the Titans. The Tigers will want to atone for last week. And if there's one team that they can beat up on, it might be the Gold Coast Titans. If they're slightly off their game and the Tigers are up for this, Taylor May's pretty dangerous, close to the line. The ball's going to go left pretty frequently through Jerome Luai there. So I think Taylor May is a bit of a special this round. And without having played much footy recently or this season, I think he's every chance of going a bit under the radar. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, he'll probably want to play well too, to make sure he solidifies that spot in the centres, because there's been some whispers around that Israel Folau is looking to take that spot at the Tigers, so you never know. Now, look, the Gold Coast as well, it's a pretty decent matchup for Taylor May. The Gold Coast have allowed an average of 56 GDS points to left centres over the past 5 weeks. The lowest score in that was 40 GDS points, so some really good opportunity there for Taylor May. And I think, as you touched on, that massive 113 points against the Storm, that's 17 tackles, 180 running meters, 3 line breaks, 9 tackle breaks, 2 tries. If we see something close to that again, I think everyone's going to regret not playing him earlier. So you definitely get May into the team. The rest, though, I think that it's quite tough to get to anyone else. Grant Anderson, probably the best option in terms of the stats, but you can see on screen he's averaging 12 at the moment. Leotau averaging 33. He hasn't quite hit the heights that we've hoped for. There's been a couple of decent matchups and he hasn't quite got there. So I'm not really sure about him. Jesse Ramian on that side of the field as well is going to struggle. The Warriors are really good at restricting that side of the field. And then Jordan Sanrani, again, the matchup's going to be way too tough. So I think outside of anyone else, I think it's those 3. And it's just about getting your combinations right.
Yep, Sif Kanga is on board with us as well. Herbie Farnworth and a mix of May and Iro. I don't think we need to look too far beyond those few options if you do want to get risky and go elsewhere, and it pays off. Well done, but I don't think I can do that in the centre position this week. Mate, the winger position, probably one of the worst winger slates that we've had in a long, long time. There's a couple of Dolphins that we've got there. Unfortunately, the matchup data doesn't read too well for them, but it's almost a case for me of, well, there's not really any better options. Jermaine Asako, Jack Bostock, for me, look pretty good plays in a pretty bad week. You could go Ronnie Mulatalo after he bounced back to form and had a nice performance last round. You could expect the Warriors to get on a roll and either of their wingers to run over the top of the Sharkies and score a handful of tries. AKP and Dallin only averaging 36 and 40 respectively, but when they cross the line for 2 or 3 tries, that score is always fairly respectable. Mate, the winger position, very boring this round. Let's not spend too long on it. Zarko, Mulatalo, Bostock, are your 2 wingers going to come from those 3?
Yeah, they will. Just quickly on AKP, he's also got a negative 14 in his scores. So that average obviously significantly hindered by that. Look, yeah, I think I'm going to go Asako. As you said, the matchup data doesn't suit. The last 5 scores from right wingers against the Roosters are 8, 7.2, 19, and negative 7.5. Wow. But then also there's a 78 in there. So there is a chance. You're saying there's a chance. There's every opportunity that Isako can get to that 78. It's just going to be that the Finns need across the line for Isako to have some opportunity to obviously get those goal kicks as well on top of everything else that he does. We just saw the Roosters hold the Raiders to 0. It's a completely different Roosters side, though, as we've said. We've got a significantly different back line with Billy Smith and Talao on the wings than Egan Butcher and Foley in the centres. So there's every opportunity that we just put a line through any of that matchup data and go with our gut here and more of a vibe play. We know what Isako can offer. We know what he does in attack. We just have to go back a couple of weeks where he scored those unreal tries where he broke 4 or 5 tackles. It wasn't in a try-scoring position, and he still made it a try-scoring position. So we know what he offers, and having the kicking tee, I think, just adds to the opportunity against anyone else that we've got, even just on screen there. He's much better than probably the AKPs, the DWZs of the world, the AJs and Stone Streets as well. So, yeah, for me, Isako, I'll probably pair him with Ronnie Muatalo up against the Warriors again. I've talked about it a little bit. I don't want to get too many Sharks into my side, though. Obviously, if the Warriors do what the bookies think they're going to do, it's going to be an absolute whitewash for the Warriors against the Sharks. But in terms of those two wingers, the Warriors are actually allowing more points on that right side. Ronnie's probably going to line up on that right side with Stone Street taking the left. And the data suggests you should target that right side. The Wars have restricted left wingers to less than 30 GDS points while allowing 40 GDS points to right side counterparts. So just have to go back to round 13. Alamotti was named on that right wing, ended up with 66 GDS points and 2 tries there as well. So I think you need to get around Ronnie Muatalo and Isako. If someone wants to go a little bit different than the out of position Jack Bostock, I think, had plenty of benefit as well. His jumping ability is ridiculous.
I've just decided who I'm going, and it's a complete 180. It's Tavita Nafahu.
Yeah,
I'm going off Jackie Bostock and to the other wing. We spoke about Herbie Farnworth's matchup there with Egan Butcher. If that remains, you're going to have Egan Butcher and what will it be? Billy Smith on that. No, it'll be Tommy Talau on that side of the field. So that's even better. A pretty poor defensive combination there. And look, Tavita Nafahu flying under the radar. He's got a very poor average because he keeps getting points for not playing. He's only taken the field twice. For a 65 earlier against the Raiders, and he was off the interchange for about 5 or 6 points as well. But in his Dolphins career, played about 7 or 8 games, and in his last 3 games, he scored 5 tries for them on that left wing. 61 against the Titans in round 26 last year, 109 points against the Canberra Raiders in round 27. And the one game he played this season on the left wing, 1 try and 65 GDS points there. Against the Canberra Raiders, 195 run meters, 6 tackle breaks and 3 line breaks. That game against the Raiders in round 27 last season, 9 tackle breaks, 5 line breaks, 2 tries. This man can play footy, just hasn't been given the chance. Those people that are watching tonight's show may have just struck gold there with Tavita Nafahu. Let's see, and he'll definitely feature in my side, and I'll be definitely talking about him in the Around the Grounds next week if he manages to pop off. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, I really like it. I was going to throw out another one. I thought you were leaning this way. Phil Sami as well as a potential option as a pod. Obviously, we're going to play him quite heavily on the Sunday Showdown, but the Tigers obviously allowed massive points to both wingers last week, but Phil Sami playing on the left where Jenkins just dropped 97 GDS points against them. So I think Phil Sami is another player that you could definitely get into your full round side if you want to go a little bit funky, remembering that it's sort of risk-free because there's every chance that one of these wingers is going to have a really poor game. They're not going to cross the line and they'll be the one that's dropping out of your final 17. So it's a bit of a risk-free play, to be honest.
Yeah, don't mind that whatsoever. Disappointingly, the fullback position, not outstanding. We normally have some of the biggest names in GameDay Squad on the strongly considers. Trey Fuller definitely can play some good footy in the absence of Hammer when he's playing at the fullback position. Keanu Kinney has not reached the heights of last season. Maybe this is the week. Nice matchup there against the West Tigers, who give up plenty of points to fullbacks. KO Weeks averaging a tick over 50 as well. He goes about his business pretty quietly and just sort of has some massive games here and there when you sort of least expect it. They are favourites there for that game against the Eels. Every chance that that he can find himself plenty of fantasy points. Dream Buller and Tane Tuapiki, pretty nice matchups on paper as well. If you like the Warriors against the Sharkies, maybe it's Tuapiki that you get to. Can play some decent footy and find some fantasy points as well. But mate, I think we will play three fullbacks. I'm not loving any of the backline positions, let's be honest. But Trey Fuller in Hammer's absence, him and Keanu Kinney, we probably expect a bigger performance from him. Are those two that you think are going to be pretty popular?
Yeah, you pretty much summed up exactly how I'm feeling. Probably will play three fullbacks, but there's every opportunity. I could play a third centre with Taylor May being that third option potentially as well. So I don't think I can get to a third winger at all based on what we've just talked about, but definitely Trey Fuller is one of the big ones. We've sort of had this scenario a couple of weeks ago where we thought Fuller was going to have a massive game, didn't quite return the score that we wanted, 47 GDS points playing fullback for the Dolphins. Didn't quite get those heights that we expected or that we've seen in the past playing fullback. In the last 4 games of 2025, Fuller had an average of 63 GDS points. And so we're probably hoping for something similar. According to the Stats Lab stats that we've got, the Roosters are actually second easiest matchup for fullbacks this weekend, allowing almost 50 GDS points. So there's every opportunity that this is a great position for Fuller. He's not going to get super involved. I feel like he's going to play both sides of the field, and hopefully we can just back his speed and his ability to know that fullback role, even though he hasn't had a lot of time there. I really think there's an opportunity for him to go well. If we look at that data as well, that Roosters data, last 5 games, that average has increased to 63 GDS points. And there's a bit of a resemblance there. The 63 GDS points was what Fuller averaged in his back end of 2025. And that's what the Roosters are allowing at the moment. So do we just lock in the 63 to Fuller now or what?
Yeah, let's do it. I like it. And Keanu Kinney, pretty popular as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to find his way into my side. The Titans on fire with, 1 win in a row. So well done to the Titans if we don't include the bye. I think they had a win in the bye as well. He's averaged 50 GDS points, Keanu Kinney, in the last month of footy, and he now faces the Tigers after they got absolutely pummeled. The Tigers themselves, they're allowing an average of 50 GDS points to fullbacks, and that includes a 50, a 63 and 85 in the last 3 games. So it could be another one of those Kinney blow-up games. We saw that earlier in the season against the Eels. So there's every opportunity that, the Titans on this little bit of a roll. There's not too much change. Tino obviously not on the side, but very similar over the last few weeks anyway from the Titans. So I think this could be a really good game for Keanu Kinney. But again, it's that same dilemma. We've got a whole range of players that we're really keen on that are going to be playing on that Sunday Showdown as well. And to add to that, Kinney is an under 24s player, so you've got to really consider where you're going to get him into your side. So you need plenty of cards there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope he can find some of that form that he teased us with midway through this season, and definitely showcase a lot of before that neck injury. Dream Buller has had a couple of big games this season. Shapes is a pretty handy pod there. If the Tigers can get things back on track, you always seem to think a team that gets smacked by 60 are going to bounce back, and pretty fortunately they get the Gold Coast Titans, and there's not many better teams other than maybe the Dragons or the Brisbane Broncos that you'd want to be up against when you want to bounce back. So Dream Buller for me, a pretty handy pod there as well. Mate, any thoughts about Tane Tuapiki at the back there for the Warriors?
Before I get into that, massive shout outs to Shannon over on Instagram. He asked thoughts on a massive Tigers loss. I think that there's every opportunity that the Titans will roll the Tigers this weekend. And unfortunately, our good mate Osto will not be happy. But big shout out to Shannon over there as well. Look, I'm not as keen on Tane Tuapiki as what maybe you are at the moment. The Sharks are restricting fullbacks to 44, but in the last 5 games, that's actually dropped down to 37 GDS points. Tuapiki's in this weird sort of scenario where he has some really good games. He had an opportunity to kick goals, couldn't quite get there. We thought it might happen and it didn't. And it really just comes down to the time on the ball for me. And there's times where he is really involved and times where he sort of steps back. And the frustrating thing for me as well, from a non-fantasy perspective, is sometimes he goes missing. So yeah, it kind of messes with my head a little bit watching him play, thinking he's not going so well. And then you have a look at his fantasy score and it's actually not too bad. But I just think with that the Sharks restricting fullbacks at the moment. So I know that the Sharks team is quite different to what they've been in the past. I think there's some better options. And one of those better options is Dream Buller. Obviously going to have him for the Sunday Showdown. The Titans Sunday afternoon, Leichhardt Oval, absolutely unreal spot to be in. Hopefully the sun will be shining down there. The Titans hot off the win, as we said, against the Broncos. Tigers giving up almost 70 points. Real positive matchup here for Buller, though, to bounce back and have a big game. The Titans allowing an average of 52 GDS points to fullbacks, making them the easiest matchup of all teams available this weekend. That average has soared over the past 5 games, where the Titans have allowed scores of 47, 60, and a couple of 70s there, plus an 84. So Buller is in this position where I think I've got to get him into my side somewhere, not just the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a big game as well. If you want to get different from a KO Weeks or Keanu Kinney type, Dream Buller, if we get 60 points in that afternoon game, I just feel like one of these teams is going to get a roll on and one of those fullbacks are going to go off. Do you just put both of them into as many teams as possible? It'll be interesting breaking down this weekend's slate once it's all done and dusted. A quick shout out. Thanks for posting that, Michael Cozzi. Yeah, we'll put our hand up. You can blame the both of us here. Definitely overlooked that. I haven't even noticed it all show that we've got the Warriors logo next to the buy. And it's only when Cozzi and then Skip had a good laugh about it as well.
On your boys.
Yeah, apologies for that. The Warriors are playing. Let's stress that the Warriors are playing this round.
Definitely.
We did highlight the 7 teams at the start of the show that were on the buy. So yeah, just ignore that one. We'll get that fixed up for next round. Well spotted, boys. All right, let's run through some of the consensus teams for, if I could just click to the next page. Yep, here we go. Our Stats Lab Primetime consensus side, a lot of Dolphins colors there. Very keen on them against the Roosters. Remember, this is a Stats Lab Primetime competition for Thursday and Friday. We got the 2 fixtures. Our starting 13 that we like at the moment is Naf White, Tavita Totola, with not many other better options in the middle forwards, getting a spot there. And Xavier Willison rounding out the 3 middles. Connor Watson packing the scrum at hooker. And Ewan Aitken, Keon Kalolmatangi, 2 bunnies on the edge there. Isaiah Katoa and Cody Nikorima. A bit of a halves pairing there. If they score points either side of the field, you'd expect one of them to be involved. So if you want to load up on some Dolphins and expect a big win there against the understrength Chooks, you can follow us there with both Katoa and Nikorima. Herbie Farnworth, Grant Anderson, not many better options there. Despite 4 teams, not too many centers actually being able to be picked in the center position. Egan Butcher, Latrell Siegbold, a lot of guys, Tallis Duncan, all of these guys aren't being able to be eligible as a center on GameDay Squad. Zarko, Bostock, or Tavita Nafahu as your wingers, and then Trey Fuller there at the back as well. So, yeah, plenty of Redcliffe Dolphins flavor there. I recommend just filtering by the Dolphins and picking as many of them into your side there against the Roosters. And, mate, talk us through, please, our round 15 consensus starting 13. These are most of the blokes that we've spoken about on tonight's show.
Yeah, we're pretty keen on Oliver Pascoe, as we said, in the hooker role. And we've got Jackson Ford and Xavier Willison, along with Tyrrell May in our forward pack. KPP and Ewan Aitken at this stage are our edges, although we did throw out a couple of other options that are quite good as well. In our halves, we've got the pairing of Izzy Katoa and Jaden Campbell. And then our centres, we have landed on Taylor May as probably the second best option, along with Herbie Farnworth in that absolute smash spot. And then our wingers, Sarko and Ronnie Murtalo, and then fullback is Trey Fuller. Again, the starting 13. Obviously, you can play around with the bench a little bit. We're keen to see how they go.
All right, mate. I'll let you talk about this one because we don't normally have extra numbers there on the screen. You had a quick play around with the editing of this slide during the week, and I've just noticed that there are some numbers above our player cards. We don't normally do that. Do you want to talk us through what you've done there?
Oh, mate, I was so sure I was going to win this, and just having a look at the numbers, if we'd combined all the scores, I would have taken it out easy. But Harry Grant up against Pascoe, he got up by just over 5 points there, and then you can see Herbie Farnworth up against Tola Kula got got it done by 2.5 points, and then Reece Walsh absolutely annihilated Dylan Edwards. So the win did go to you, but I just wanted to point out that it was probably the closest it's been all season. And if we'd done what we do for the Origin series, where we combine scores and have the total, then I would have got one up on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that means you'll be opening up a pack, and we have spun the wheel off camera for those that that voted for me last round, and the winner was Michael Cossett. I think that might be a typo as well.
Michael Cozzy.
I'm sure that's Cozzy. Well done, mate.
Good work, mate.
Congratulations, and maybe that's a bit of good karma for you, pointing out that little error there that we've made on the slide with the Warriors not being on the bye. So, Dyl, what do we got? A unique pack, is that right?
Yeah, it's round 15. So every 5 shows, we try and get a unique pack out to you. Definitely, this whole pack is going out to Michael Cozzy. Good on you, mate. Well done. As always, all you need to do to get involved is comment who you think is going to win. Michael Cozzy did that, picking Stu. So you get the contents of the unique pack. Good luck, Cozzit.
Oh, we've got a nice animation there.
Mate, animation here. Here we go. It's taking a little bit to load, so that can only mean good things. Alrighty, starting at the top. Griffin Neem, we've got Gale, we've got the Diamond and Jordan Ricky. We've got a second Diamond. I'm going to come back to that. Lafai, Hunt, Alex 12, Platt. There you go. Great card. Farlolo, Platt, great card. Ethan Sanders there, perfect timing. And then our other Platt is Liam Henry. So a couple of good, the Diamond, a couple of good Platts there for you, and some not so good Diamonds. So hopefully you're going to be able to use those, Michael Cozzy.
Yeah, handy little pack there, mate. Well done. Shame no Oliver Pascoe cards. All right, here is BroDown Showdown for round 15. The positions there are the centres, the wingers, and the edge forwards. Dill's got Herbie Farnworth, Ronaldo Mulatalo, and Ewan Aitken as his 3 selections up against my Taylor May. Don't get confused there. That's Taylor May, not Terrell. Jermaine Asako and Kai Pearce-Paul. If you think my players are going to beat Dill's on a head-to-head basis, make sure you comment Stu in the chat now or on the YouTube, Apple or Spotify comment section. If you think Dill's players in Herbie Farnworth, Ronaldo Mulatalo, or Ewan Aitken are going to get the job done, make sure you put him into your put Dill into your comments as well, mate. That's it for tonight's show. A little bit longer than usual. We're off to Queensland versus New South Wales game 2 next Wednesday night, same time at 6 p.m. where we're going to preview all things game 2, which is a must-win, obviously, for the Maroons. Yes. Hopefully the boys can get the job done and take it to a decider. Mate, all the best this week. It's a depleted round. Let's hope that we can find those diamonds in the rough. Let's get the pods right. And thanks for joining us once again, everyone. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and Instagram. Good luck for round 15, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks to all the comments over on Instagram as well. Good on you, boys. And thanks to everyone on YouTube. Have a great week. Good luck all. Cheers, Stu.
Yeah.